is there an ageism in Bollywood where after, you're over the hill if you're 30 or now, I don't know, it used to be 40.
All of you here look glamorous. You all can get away with saying what matters is only on the inside, when all of you look good on the outside.
I don't like this term anti-aging. Let's call it pro-aging or healthy aging.
I don't know why people say, oh my God, you go to a dermatologist to do Botox. The fact is, everybody dyes their hair. Why are you dyeing your hair? Exactly. If you are wanting to age, if you think everyone should just be aging the way they should be aging.
I wish I could stop coloring my hair. I hate it.
Where do you find age at all where you don't find aging? Even a one-day-old baby is a day older, is aging.
In an age when one's private life and personal choices have become everybody else's business, there's always immense pressure to put up a picture-perfect appearance. This is particularly true for women, especially those who have a public image. Even after crossing a certain age, they're expected to defy gravity and look smooth and youthful. On this episode of the Big FPJ Dialogue, we are going to discuss realistic approaches to embracing aging with confidence in an increasingly judgmental world. And I'm joined by Executive Editor of FPJ, Afrida Ali.
Thank you, Anushka. We decided to have this conversation because this is a conversation that one must have. It is being also triggered by the fact that ageism is back in public discourse, partly triggered by the fact that there's a Salman movie release and there's talk around a very young actress opposite Salman Khan. That and a lot of veteran actresses now coming out and talking about how they are being trolled for looking the way that they do. So Anushka, let's get started with this.
Yes, we have a remarkable panel for amazing women who have each made a name for themselves. I'm going to introduce in order. We have Nawaz Modi Singhania, India's leading fitness and lifestyle icon and founder of Body Art Fitness Center. Dr. Jaishree Sharad, celebrity dermatologist. Pooja Bedi, well-known actor and wellness entrepreneur, and Malavika Sangghvi, renowned journalist. Thank you so much for joining us.
So I want to then, just hit it off with the, the immediate trigger for this conversation, like Anushka and me, we would talk about it, and then we thought, let's have women, mature voices, tell us what they think. And what we want to know is, a lot of veteran actresses, you have Manisha Koirala, you have Madhuri Dixit, a lot of them have come out, especially I remember what Manisha Koirala actually said, that there is no age shaming with male actors. It only happens with women. And now, interestingly, I mean, Salman Khan, with all his sense of humor, said, okay, but why do you guys have a problem? I mean, I'm 60, but if Rashmika is not having an issue with it, why are you bothered? So this entire thing that is buzzing in social media, Pooja, if I may ask you first, so is there an ageism in Bollywood where after, you're over the hill if you're 30 or now, I don't know, it used to be 40?
Hang on. We need to rewind back to the time of cinema when Manoj Kumar and Rekha used to play college kids when they were in their 30s, right? They were much older, but they were playing college kids, right? And at that point, we say, really, they're playing college, but the audience would buy it and the audience would lap it up, right? In a case like this, where Salman is playing a certain character and he's got a very young girl opposite him, etc., you have to see how is he looking. If you see the actors today, they are working out so much on the way they look. Look at Hrithik Roshan. I mean, look at the amount of effort, the amount of dedication, the amount of time and energy that he puts into looking the way he looks, right? That's one. And if it can happen in real life, why can't it happen in real life? My father has married a woman who's 4 years younger than me. And that's reality. So why can't the same be reflected on screen?
So you can't put it on the men or the industry as such. You're saying there are people who are making an effort to fit into that part, and then audiences are buying it. So it's not
and
like...
as long as audiences are buying it, they're buying it. And the films are doing well and they're successful, and that's all that really matters. And you know what? It's nice to have a sense of an elder man can be with a younger woman, or that an elder woman can be with a younger man.
That is not happening. Is that happening?
No, but that is happening. I dated a guy who was 12 years younger than me. Right? And I had a wonderful relationship with him. And that's the reality. If the same were to reflect on screen, like a Demi Moore film or Priyanka Chopra film that she had done once, on a similar note, that was also corporate based, where the woman is the aggressor, the woman is the, the larger than life. it's a film, it's a screenplay, it's something that's coming up on celluloid to help trigger your imagination. It's something that's coming out there to entertain you. It's something that could be a reality, which it is for many people. And that's the beauty of cinema. It's meant to entertain you, not to be scrutinized to this effect. It's entertainment. I don't know why people take entertainment so seriously.
Malavika, I think you wanted to add something to this.
I think we live in an age, in a country, in a world at a time when there is misogyny and patriarchy. Added to that layer is ageism. And I think ageism is the most insidious of it, because the pressure it puts on, especially because added with misogyny, on young girls, on young people, then you have no parity in pay, you have careers, women's actresses' careers faltering. So I think we should look at ageism and spin it on its head and give it a much more positive approach. As I was telling you, women in their 50s, 60s, 70s are in their prime. They have strength, they have experience. If they're intelligent, they even have gratitude for coming this far. Like you were saying, people who live longer today are really very privileged. In the old days, it was 32 years old.
Average life expectancy.
Life expectancy. So we should celebrate our growing older. It's an honor which very few people have. That is my approach to it.
Also Bollywood has changed a lot.
You know, you mentioned how people are making a lot of effort to look great and young. And that's where we have Dr. Jaishree and Nawaz come in, right? They're both authors of books on this, on anti-aging, on skincare. So, Dr. Jaishree, we're talking about Bollywood. So, you have a lot of Bollywood clientele, right? Is it like new normal? Like literally everyone has to have these procedures done?
Not really. I mean, the thing is that people, as Pooja rightly said, people forget that they have a lot of discipline in their lives. And when it comes to skin and looking good, it's holistic. You can't just do a procedure and say, oh, I'm going to look macho or I'm going to look gorgeous, because you have to have the right kind of diet, the right kind of exercise, and the right kind of sleep. And sometimes, you know, I don't like this term anti-aging. Let's call it pro-aging or healthy aging.
I agree.
You know?
Totally.
And because we're not here to turn back the clock. We're here to look youthful, yet graceful, you know. And why, if you have the means, okay, why can't you tweak a little, but be just yourself, a better version of yourself, you know?
Why can't you look your age but beautiful?
Yeah, absolutely.
You don't have to look youthful, but so that's what we have to change.
No, you have to feel youthful.
That is a state of mind.
It's a state of mind. So you know, when also there's a lot of pressure when you talk about the actors and the Bollywood, and because people are looking at them in a certain way, right? We need to understand their point of view also. They get trolled much more and much vigorously as compared to us.
So that's a
right?
professional compulsion
now,
that comes.
Everybody doesn't have to do procedures, right? But when you start taking care of your skin holistically and in terms of skincare routines and some basic treatments here and there, what is the harm? You don't allow the building to collapse, right? We don't realize that as we're aging, it's not just the skin, it's the bone, it's the muscle, it's the fat, everything is collapsing. So if you do a little tweakments here and there, maybe a non-surgical radiofrequency tightening, or you know, some little laser here, and I'm not saying go every week to a dermatologist, I'm saying maybe 3 times a year and do something just to look, you know, a healthier
This is
version
something,
of
Anushka,
yourself.
I want
A
to
healthier,
quote Twinkle Khanna,
fresher
who said, when a
version of
building
yourself.
gets sold, you do paint it, right? So what is the harm?
Also the thing is, you know, I don't know why people say, oh my God, you go to a dermatologist to do Botox. The fact is, everybody dyes their hair. Why are you dyeing your hair if you are wanting to age, if you think everyone should just be aging the way they should be aging? Why do you put makeup on your face? To look different, to look beautiful, to do all of that, you deck yourself up.
Why only Botox is demonized?
Why suddenly do you turn around and say, oh, you did Botox, you know, oh,
So
you've
we're
gone and
not
done some collagen work, you know, oh,
not
you know,
against the whole concept of beauty should be you can be beautiful and look older.
Yeah.
That's very well
Nawaz,
said.
you want to weigh in on this?
Opening comments.
You've written a.
Or look your age.
Yeah.
I
No,
also-
we haven't heard from
one
the.
last thing, I don't think that anyone should be shamed for wanting to do it.
Yeah.
You know,
That's
I
true.
think that's
That's true.
also a choice.
It's a personal
and
choice,
no,
yeah,
and
yeah.
it's a
matter
choice
of
you
personal
should be
freedom.
entitled to.
Entitled
If you're
to, yeah.
not happy with certain things in your face, if you're not happy, not because you were pressured to feel a certain way or somebody pressured you into it, but if you look at yourself in the mirror and you want to look slightly different, or you want certain things to be checked or kept in control,
It's your
you should
personal
have
choice.
the power and the
Yeah.
ability and the choice.
That takes me
make
to the
that choice.
question that I want to put to Nawaz, that you know what, the point is that the body image, you do draw your self-confidence from it. And in professions that even for us, like for me and Anushka, for those of us in the business of being seen and heard, we draw a lot of confidence from the way we look. So, you know, one cannot be blamed for having those insecurities of aging and, you know, whether we look good enough or not. So, you know, in like we said about Bollywood, for everyone else who also come on screen, do you think that confidence has a very big role to play as well? Why people lose confidence when they feel that their body image, you know, is not as
I
good
think
about
that
themselves?
self-esteem, it inculcates so many different aspects of our being. It's our body, it's our mind, it's our look, it's our skin, our hair, our descent, our lineage, our families, our a million and one things, and everything adds in lens. And I don't think there's anything wrong in taking help where you need it. As Pooja rightly said, you'll put makeup on. Why? If you don't want to look your best. Why will you dye your hair if you don't want to look your best? Why even go for a haircut? Why even go for a wax?
No, but why even wear the most fashionable
Lovely
clothes or buy your
or
bags
jewelry,
or jewelry?
etc. So I think
you know?
it's all important, it's all good. The troublesome part is when you have very young kids, when you have teens and very young kids going in for all sorts of, you know, a nose, I don't know what it's called, a nose surgery.
Rhinoplasty.
Thank you.
Rhinoplasty.
And you know, Botox and a variety of other things, because what is it doing to their confidence? What is it doing to their self-esteem?
And what about those who cannot have access or who cannot afford it? That becomes the pressure.
So the world has become a very unsafe place for those who are much younger now than it used to be for us, where the sense of I'm not good enough is a huge mantra, is a
And the
huge problem.
Instagram
But that's
induced
social
beauty
media.
standards,
Yeah.
right?
Everything is Instagrammable
Everything,
now.
everything
and,
is
yeah.
Instagram.
And it's not just that, it's not just Instagram and, you know, the world as it is, it's full open access everywhere. It's the fact that everyone is grooming. When we were growing up, nobody was grooming. We were the only ones grooming, feeling like in the kingdom of the blind, the one-eyed is the king. Okay? That's not the case anymore. It's so much harder for these young kids. You see so many teen and even younger than that, suicides. All over the place, it's rampant. What does that say about what's actually going on, the kinds of pressures that are building everywhere? A lot of it
You're
has to
saying lot to do
start
with
and end with
appearances.
ourselves. Yes.
Also, I think it has a lot to do with the mindset. Why are you doing it? Are you doing it to show off? Are you doing it because you are pressured to do it? Are you doing it to fit in? Or are you doing it because it matters to you? You know, the mindset is a very big trigger in all of this. And I think through my wellness workshops that I do, etc., my entire focus is always to help people develop the right mindset to deal with challenges that don't allow them to get pressured, but rather enjoy the process of whatever it is they would like to evolve into. You know, I think that journey is very important.
I think we need to create that awareness, what Pooja is doing, and, you know, put that into their head, because most often, because of the social media pressures and all of that, they do want validation from others most of the time when it comes to the younger ones.
I have so many women, millions, when I go out, who come up to me very shyly and say, I wish I could stop coloring my hair. I hate it. So I say, why don't you? Oh, but you know, society and this. I said, but it's your head. If you want to do it, who else has that freedom to give you that permission?
So I had an ex-boyfriend who was fully white, okay, but he was dark haired when I met him. So as I was dating him, his hair obviously was turning white and he'd keep dyeing it. And I said, why are you dyeing your hair? It looks so elegant to be white. So during the time he was with me, he left his hair white. And I thought it looked great. It looked elegant. It looked wonderful. He looked radiant. His face looked younger suddenly because he had this white hair and his face was very young compared to the mop of grey hair on his head. And then when we broke up, he
Oh,
went
you
right
broke
back.
up?
Yeah. Okay, I'm engaged to somebody else. But when we broke up, he went right back to dyeing his hair
Dyeing
again.
his
He
hair.
said, the girls are looking at me like an uncle, you know. So the pressure is equal for men. So it's not just a woman-based thing. It's an age-based thing where you want to look a certain age to be
Ageism, yeah.
attractive to the opposite sex.
But if
You
you
know?
feel attractive, you exude that.
But that's what you've written in your book, Nawaz, that if you know, the way you interact with the world or the way the world sees you depends on how you see yourself, your relationship with yourself.
Which is why I spoke about self-esteem being above and beyond everything else. And Pooja spoke about four mental states and why do I want it for myself, for the world, blah, blah, blah. It's really a bit of everything, isn't it? Who wants to leave anything back on the table? Everyone wants everything, and why should they not? And if you want anything less, that also goes straight back to self-esteem. Why do you want anything less? Do you think something less of yourself?
Absolutely. But in your book, you also talk about how there is societal pressure, especially if you have a certain position in society. People do, you know, judge you and interact with you based on your appearance. Do you find that?
See, the reality of the situation is that as men age, as the grey-haired age, it usually often comes with more power, more money, more success, and it's more dignified, etc. Woman never looks that way, unfortunately. However, we would like to see it be that way. It isn't a fact of life. It isn't seen that way. Women, unfortunately, seem to be more of a depreciating asset, right? And that's something which really needs change. It needs addressal.
So we can change it
But the
here.
reality is one needs to accept that it is a problem rather than deny the problem entirely and figure how does one actually address that? How does one change
No,
that?
what is your suggestion? How will this change? How will-
By being age positive, by then having the courage of your conviction, realizing that you don't want to, you want to evolve. You want to show the world that this is me now. I have been through my struggles. I have achieved what I've paid the price I had to. Now I am doing what I want.
But it
And
has to
I
happen at a
think-
very micro level, isn't it? Like a mother, daughter, every home. Like how do you
No, we're
get
role
to that
models,
level?
Role models.
Where when you raise girls, where at that level, when you start telling young girls, you know, I'm raising a daughter, so you know, it has to be inculcated at that level as well, isn't it? From the parenting level.
So where
What
do you
are
find
saying.
age at all where do you find age at all where you don't find aging? Even a one-day-old baby is a
Is
day
aging.
older, is aging, right? So coming to terms with the fact that this is normal. Who does it not happen to?
It's
It
not
happens
only
to that.
normal, it's an honor and a privilege.
It is.
My friend Karan Oberoi said something wonderful. He said, Pooja, when you die, your body goes into rigor mortis, right? You're absolutely stiff and it goes to rigor mortis. He's saying from the time of birth, right? The entire journey is a process of reaching rigor mortis. Our bodies get stiffer, our thoughts get stiffer, our emotions get stiffer, you know, everything starts getting into that space. And our entire life, all we really need to work on is staying supple, staying young emotionally, young mentally, you know. The rest will reflect irrespective. And if you can't, then there's always the good doctor here, you know, to help you along.
No, but I'll talk.
Going inside.
Absolutely.
No, you know, you were right about how, you know, men who have frown lines or, you know, if they have crow's feet or they have grey hair, you know, they are
Look so
perceived to be
distinguished.
like, oh my God,
George
you know,
Clooney
he is
kind
very
of
sexy,
figure.
very good. Yeah. And if a woman has those frown lines or crow's feet, it's not accepted. So where and
It
when
starts
and how?
here.
That's exactly what I was
It
talking about.
starts
The
here.
disparity is there, even in Bollywood. Like the standards are different for men and women. The yardsticks are very different. A woman is age shamed, don't you think, Pooja? In Bollywood, in industry, age shaming does exist.
I don't think it's age shaming. I think you have to look the part to play a character and you get cast to play that character. You know, it's Bollywood is always in a spotlight, so therefore it's highlighted as to what goes on, which is actually very tiny compared to what's actually going on in the rest of society as well. As I said, Bollywood only reflects what's happening.
But I think the reverse is also true, where this entire thing is happening in the society, but because people look up to the actors and the Bollywood, maybe they can make a change and say, okay, this woman with frown lines and wrinkles is gorgeous.
Yeah, they'll have
And
to
also
lead
to
the
be
way.
seen in 70 mm, isn't it? I mean, imagine that. I mean, when you're seen larger than life on big screen, you can't take a chance. You do have to work to keep yourself
But why do
worthy
you
of...
think wrinkles and crow feet are not
Worthy of-
crow feet are not acceptable?
They also tell a story in a way, right? I mean,
Every
they should
line,
be.
every scar, every
Why?
pore,
No,
every...
we are talking about on screen. You
No,
need
but-
to have the movie star aura. What Pooja is saying, that audiences want that, seek that. They will
A
not
Meryl
watch.
Streep, who's done very little to her face, her talent speaks for her, her depth, her substance.
But she's playing different kinds of roles. See, there's a role for, there's a look for a role. There's a look for a narrative. There's a look for a character. So if you're trying to fit a certain character at a certain age, then you have to fight that battle to be able to look that character.
But now that
Unless
age
you
is
allow
coming
yourself
down,
to evolve into like Tabu. Tabu's doing a brilliant job of evolving as an actress, from going from one space to going to another space to going to the space she's in currently. She's a beautiful woman who's aged beautifully. She's in command of herself, command of her aging processes, and she's handling her entire persona brilliantly. Okay?
And if you don't do
And-
that, you limit your options. Is that what you're saying? You limit your...
Well, yeah, because everyone is fighting for that slot. You've gone out of that slot. You're evolving into being a version that you are evolving into. Why do you want to keep fighting for that slot? There are a million people now waiting to take that space.
I
you
think
know?
grace
So-
is the operative word here. Be graceful.
You have aged gracefully, Malavika, and you clearly have embraced the
I've
aging process
embraced
with
it and
confidence.
loved it.
You have embraced it.
Growing older doesn't mean growing less healthy or less active or less vibrant. You can be all of those things, but you just say, yes, it's a part of life.
Nawaz, I want to ask you, I've heard this being said a number of times, that there are three kinds of ages. Your chronological age, your biological age, and your mental age. So, you have people asking you, what's your mental age? And I often say, my dad, for example, like he still seems to be in his 20s. Your mental age is 20, you may be 70. So, is there such a thing that people have different mental, physical?
Of course there is. You
Biological
are as
and-
young as you feel and as young as you act, and your habits, define you eventually. So of course there absolutely is. But I'd like to say something really important out here. What we're debating today is a very small part of the fact, the unfortunate disease in our society, that it is a very patriarchal society. It is not limited to aging. It is limited to, it is extended to everything. Where is the woman considered equal in anything? As opposed to, let's say, Hollywood, where you're talking about Bollywood here and the vast, differential. However, in Hollywood, if you look at some of the aging actresses, they are in their prime. They are Jennifer Aniston there are so many of them.
But Nawaz, they're playing a certain character. They're not suddenly getting and doing some crazy dance movements, which they're breaking out into to be able to fit into a certain Bollywood
but
setup.
even off
Okay, so we're not talking
Pooja,
about
they
stupidity
look-
out here, but we're
I'm
talking about
talking-
they're
no.
playing.
No, but see, the actresses, the
they're still playing
actresses.
actresses in their 40s and 50s.
Yeah,
They're
but there are
playing
roles
that.
made for actresses in their 40s and 50s. Here, the girl is always young. With the hero, she's dancing, they're doing those crazy moves, they have those sexy things going
the lead,
on.
the protagonist is that woman in her 40s and
But
50s.
that's the script is made for that. The
Correct.
script is like a
Because the
Sridevi,
mindset is
like
different.
Sridevi in Mom. It was a role made for a woman of that age, and she played that age and looked that age.
But Pooja, the fact that roles are made for 20-year-olds or teens and 20-year-olds and then their mothers and their mother-in-laws is again a faction of a mindset here, which is not done in Hollywood, for example.
But then you
will have
grow into
women in
playing
their
other characters.
power, women in their power in their 40s, 50s, etc., who are the protagonists.
like Dimple
That's the lead.
Kapadia looks beautiful.
Related to this, there's a beautiful quote by Gertrude Stein that we are always the same age inside. I feel that. Like, I don't think I've aged inside at all.
So my mom, whenever you ask my mom what her age was, she would say, could you be specific, please? Spiritually, I'm thousands of years old. Mentally, I'm in my 60s. This is when she was, say, 40 years old, okay? Emotionally, I'm about 20. And physically, good question, somewhere between 1 and 100, how does it matter?
That's a good.
Fabulous one.
And I always say, it's okay to grow old, it's not okay to grow up. And there's a big difference in childlike and childish, and I refuse to grow up. It's just me. It's me. It's my energy. It's the way I deal with life. I deal with
Childlike and
people.
childish. That's a good
Yeah,
one.
that's a big one. Yeah, and I will always be childlike. I'll always nurture my inner child. I love my inner child. Look at all of us. I mean, look at society around you. Look at children. They're playful. They're curious. They're excited. They're passionate. You give them a present, they'll rip it open. You say, let's go there. Yes, let's go there. There's enthusiasm. and you go and see an old person, and you know, in the teenage years, they want to change the world and change everything, and an older person, chalta hai, chalne do. My point is, like the concept of that rigor mortis not setting in, keep yourself alive, keep yourself childlike, nurture those beautiful qualities in you, because it's not okay to be a jaded, old, grumpy person who has a pessimistic approach to
but
life.
growing
How does
old-
it
Same age
serve you?
inside,
How does
basically,
it serve
always.
you? How does it
But
serve the
how-
people around you?
But you don't know people who've grown old who are young in spirit. Your mum.
Yeah, exactly.
So why are you reinforcing this whole ageism concept
people
by
can
saying
look at themselves and they can take a reality check and say, shit, yeah, I've turned into that person. Where is my inner child? And you can only do that by addressing things, by talking about it.
who come, like mothers come with the daughter, the daughter's about to get married, and then how can you make her look like this beautiful gorgeous bride and all of that. And then if the daughter says, Ma, why don't you do something? No, but my life is already done. How old are you? You're 50. How can your life be already over?
True. That's pretty sad.
Why, why can't you be this gorgeous mother of the bride?
Yes.
And that still exists in our society.
but you can be the
That-
gorgeous mother of the bride and still look your age.
No,
Be age appropriate. You don't have to look young.
We're not talking
you
about
can
looking
still be
young.
gorgeous.
We're not
your
talking
best.
about looking young.
Exactly.
We're talking about
Exactly.
looking your best, which they don't want to. They're like, they've
My time
given
is
up.
up, yeah.
My time is up.
So I think we have to extricate the word looking good and the words looking good and looking young. They are not mutually.
See, I have
both
to tell you,
Pooja and
if
Jaishree are saying is
everything
not
doesn't
giving up
turn-
on
if
yourself,
everything
keeping
doesn't boil down to
trying to keep
Botox
that
and
spirit
fillers.
alive.
There is a lot more, And as I mentioned, that just by like a good holistic diet and being happy on the inside and not giving up कि मेरा तो time हो गया है, and just doing everything that probably Malavika you are doing, like living life to the fullest.
Let's
that
move to the
itself-
other area, which I find is a huge area in this country at least, about the skin color. So there is this Chief Secretary of Kerala who's come out with a statement about how she was trolled for her skin color compared with someone who's light skinned. And it's this bias, the skin color bias still exists, Malavika?
In fact, the most beautiful of skins is dark skin. It is unfortunate that because of our legacy, our history, the way the world has evolved, that dark skin has been relegated to a lesser genre or a hierarchy. But actually, that's again something we have to reinforce. That beautiful skin can be bronze, can be suntanned, can be, it's a shocking thing. And it's at panels like this where we can keep reinforcing that message, positive messages. Dark skin is beautiful. Age is beautiful.
Look at our goddesses, Kali,
Exactly.
Durga. Historically, they've been portrayed as dark-skinned women. So
Our
I don't
gods,
know.
our
Yes, our
goddesses.
gods, Ram and Krishna, is very dark-skinned.
So scientifically, when you have darker skin, when you're all shades of brown, you have more pigment called eumelanin. And that eumelanin is actually protecting us from UVA, UVB. And therefore, you hardly see any skin cancer in shades of brown, in Indian skin. All right. You look at somebody who's 45 and you look at a Caucasian who's 45, we are still young. As in, we don't wrinkle fast, we don't get those freckles, which of course may look nice, but we don't wrinkle fast, we don't sag as early as they do, and we don't get skin cancer. We're blessed. So that is the scientific aspect to it, which we should accept and say, all shades of brown, much as they look gorgeous and dusky colors look beautiful, there's also
But you
a
still
scientific
have
aspect to
matrimonial
it.
ads, Nawaz, saying
Oh,
fair
yes.
skin,
All the time.
fair skin. In my own family, I have to say, I see that mindset. Gori ladki chahiye bete ke liye. है ना Anushka?
Yeah.
Have you faced that like
there is
within your...
a fair skin bias, for
Always.
sure.
So why is there
Always.
not a fair skin bias amongst the males then? Why is it
There
only-
is. No, there is.
No, it's tall, dark and handsome.
That's true.
That's
That's
fair
fair
enough.
enough.
That's not in India.
Historically,
I have patients who are men who want to look fair all the time.
Fair and Lovely
And
came out
Fair
for
and-
men.
Yeah,
and
Fair
Handsome,
and
yeah.
Handsome.
Fair and
Fair and
Handsome,
Handsome.
yes.
I have mothers who come and say, doctor, he was, you know, he was born fair and now he's becoming dark. For heaven's sake, let him play his soccer. He's all right.
Yeah. But you know, historically, if you look at it, skin color was based on aspiration. In the olden days, I'm talking Western civilization here, the women who were under their parasols and were sitting there beautiful, all fair, like Scarlett O'Hara days with their little girdles and everything else, it was fair that was in at that point of time, right? And the laborers were the one out in the field getting tanned, etc., etc., etc. Now it's reversed. Now the people who are fair, the ones who are stuck in the corporate jobs indoors, you know, on their computers, laptops, no sunshine, no outdoors, no holidays, you know, they're corporate slaves. Whereas the ones who are tanned are the ones who have the money and the wealth to go out and be on the sun-kissed beaches and have those wonderful lives, etc. So suddenly being tanned is much more aspirational in the West, right, compared to the one era when it was aspirational.
So it keeps
to
changing,
be fair.
but not
So
here. But here you still
here,
have a very
you know, my
strong
mother was
bias.
very dark-skinned. My mother was very dark-skinned. And she faced a lot of flack. It's there in her book, if you read Time Pass. It's a brutally honest book about her life on multiple levels. Skin was one of the issues. And people say, the kali hai, mote hont hai uske, you know, kaun se shaadi karega sort of thing, you know, that literally to that level. You know, and today, of course, everyone's pumping up their lips to get thicker lips. But back then it was considered the mote hont hai uske, you know. And, you know, and I remember my cousin sister, when we were small, my cousin sister came home one day crying. She was very dark, South Indian father. And she came home and she was crying. So my mother said, what happened? She said she got teased in school because of her skin color, because she was black. So everyone called me Blackie, Blackie, Blackie in school. And my mother turned around and told her, say, tell me something. What is this called? So she says, a beauty spot. She says, so a black dot on white skin is a beauty spot. What do you call a white spot on black skin? She said, disease. She said, exactly, and never forget that. Okay, so it's all about mindset. And she never looked at her skin color in that light again. And it empowered her to feel a certain way about herself.
It's all about
You know?
mindset.
It's all about mindset, and that's what we need to change.
Do people come to you, Jaishree, with like, you know, skin lightening? And all the
Glutathione
time?
drops. That's a huge
All-
thing,
all
like
the time. All the
glutathione
time.
IV.
Glutathione is
Correct me,
now, I started practice 25 years ago, and
But there
even
are
back then,
therapy. I mean,
there
you
are
know, there are
therapies.
procedures to skin
to lighten the skin color. Yes, there are. But then, you know, you've got to keep doing them, because the moment you stop a glutathione, as you talked about glutathione, your color will go back to normal, to what
And
it
I think
was.
that even people
you
who
know?
say that they're comfortable with their skin, with being a little darker, on the sly are still using these products.
Now we're going to come to a round of wellness mantras, fitness tips, wellness mantras, and this whole debate of aging naturally or using cosmetic treatments, you know. And so we'd like all of you to weigh in on this. Nawaz, you've written this book, Pause, Rewind. I've read it. You talk about holistic fitness. You talk about the motivation for aging well and how happiness is a choice. So what is your motivation, and what kind of message do you want to impart to people in terms of like aging well and having the right attitude towards it? How have you helped people?
So this is the book. And it's about being as young, as healthy, as fit as possible at any age. Many things are inculcated in it. It is about, as we know, sleep, nutrition, what we think, mental aging, spiritual aging, hydration, exercise, face yoga. It's about a variety of things. It's about an attitude, it's about positivity, it's about a heap of things. And I just strongly believe, as I mentioned earlier, that you know what, as and when you need the help, take it. But don't take it too early. What's it doing to your self-esteem? When you can do it yourself, why would you as a young kid go around, you know, going under the knife and having all sorts of
Fillers and things.
fillers, all sorts of needles, etc. There's a lot you can do yourself by just living clean.
Living clean.
Yeah, you'll also get a whole lot further in your life by doing that, a whole lot further with your ambitions. If you're more regulated, if you have that discipline, the willpower, etc., you get to where you want to faster.
Yeah, so I'm going to come back to you with one more question after this on your recommendations for a diet. But Dr. Jaishree Sharad, Nawaz spoke about how a lot of young girls are going in for these treatments. Is that so in your experience? And is there, I mean, wouldn't you encourage a young woman to maybe use face yoga? Like I know, Nawaz, your book talks about face yoga, and I know, Pooja, you also speak a lot about these wellness techniques. Wouldn't you recommend something like that for a young woman rather than to get obsessed, because it becomes an obsession then, the treatment?
So if that's my book, and if you read my book, and if you look at maybe some of my podcasts or my Instagram stuff, I always talk about holistic healing, and I do not encourage youngsters to go ahead and do fillers and Botox.
But they are, right?
You have to put a stop.
Okay, and
right?
do you do that?
Of course I do that.
Okay.
Of course.
Even at the cost of
and
hurting your
if you,
commercial interest sometimes,
you know,
right?
what I believe truly, that it's all about holistic healing, and you need to take care of your skin. If you have to wear a sunscreen, you must wear a sunscreen. You know, even if a 16-year-old comes to me, I will say you can't, you know, sunscreen is non-negotiable. A moisturizer is non-negotiable. Skincare, I'm a dermatologist. It just doesn't have to be injecting and, you know, fillers and Botox all the time, right? Skin is the largest organ of your body. It needs tender love, care, affection. You know, it's a hormonal organ. It's producing vitamin D. It's regulating your temperature. It's doing a lot of other things which we forget. It's not just beauty. So even if you are a youngster who is coming to me and, you know, you want to do your Botox, it's my duty, because I have taken the oath, and I'm a doctor, I'm not an aesthetician, I'm a doctor. It's my duty to explain to you that, listen, please take care of your skin, okay? Please make sure you're using your right products. Please make sure you're removing your makeup at bedtime. Please make sure you're eating healthy, not indulging in too much sugar and, you know, food with high glycemic index and alcohol and smoking. Okay, exercise is important, learning to cope with stress is important, because all of that reflects on your skin. Your skin is a window to your inner well-being. So I think we all need to put that. Now, having said that, do I not do a filler on a person, you know, who has very, very thin lips and, you know, is about 35 or 45 or is aging and feels that, you know, as we age, because the bone or the, you know, the fat is going and the lips roll inwards, and somewhere there's an insecurity and you want to do a little bit there, you can. You can definitely, I mean, there's no harm in all these things. As Nawaz rightly said, there's an age for everything, and you have to remember that less is more. Less is more. That's the mantra.
Pooja, do you feel less
Right?
is more? What's your fitness mantra?
Well, firstly, you know, as doctor, I'm into holistic wellness, right? So for me, if the doctor has to say, put sunscreen that's non-negotiable, I'd say, which sunscreen? Is it a chemical-based one or is it a natural one? Okay, so because our skin is the largest organ, is the biggest organ in our entire body. So whatever you're putting on top of your skin will be absorbed into your system. So are you giving me a natural sunscreen, or are you giving me something that is chemical that in the long run will actually do me no good if I'm putting it every single day of my life, right? The youth today may be more obsessed with the way they look, but that also translates into a lot of wellness. The youth, the millennial market spend for the millennial market spend in wellness is astronomical. You're talking almost $284 billion by the youth, right, being spent on wellness at an average of about 4,000 rupees per month, and you're talking about 400 odd plus millennials. It's an astounding market size when you look at wellness. And they're so overly obsessed now with the wellness concept. There's a new word coined called orthorexia, which is it's a clean eating disorder. When you're so obsessed with eating clean that if you eat a slice of pizza, there's this immense guilt. There's this immense sense of shame that you've let your body down. You call it a cheat meal. I would say call it a treat meal. You've been so good for a whole week, maybe a whole month. If you're having that pizza, let your body receive it with happiness. Instead of feeling guilty and ashamed and bad about this beautiful juicy pizza going into your body, you're feeling shit about it. If not then the next day. You know, so how you receive that is also very important. And, you know, if you look at the difference in a medical versus holistic world, if, for example, you have a heart attack, you're not going to say, oh, I'm going to turn to Ayurveda, which will help me in 4 months or 6 months from now. At that point of time, you'll go straight to the hospital and you'll get a stent put in. You need medical intervention, right? But you will also turn around and go to the preventive sciences to make sure that whatever happens in the future is prevented, right, and reversed, like diabetes. There's no reason to be insulin dependent the rest of your life, right? You can reverse these things. So that is what holistic wellness brings into your life.
Not everything is going under the knife.
Not everything is
Yes.
non-invasive procedure.
That's what I've been trying to say from
Even
the
if it's
beginning.
invasive, even if it's invasive, what's the big deal?
What's the big deal?
Yeah. even if it is invasive.
As long as we are not looking at validation from the world, and we're looking at ourselves in the morning, and you're happy when you wake up, you look into the mirror and say, this is me, confidently. That's what it is, to each their own.
Or even for professional reasons, like say for example, I was around 32 years old and I have these really deep forehead lines, right? It's been there as a child, very deep forehead lines. And when I got back post-divorce onto screen and doing reality shows and talk shows, etc., what would happen is every time these lights came on, as a reflex action, I would get frown lines and these lines would crease. So even if I'm having a happy conversation and it's a positive conversation, the frown lines would be there. So I would look like I was frowning or I was worried or I was, angry perhaps also, which wasn't the case. But it was a natural. Right? So you put a little bit of Botox, it just eases it. But again, less is more. I never go to the extent of freezing my face or anything.
Yeah, I want to bring Nawaz in with the face yoga, sorry, because in her book she talked, just because we spoke about Botox and all, in your book you talk about face yoga and how with face yoga you probably don't need procedures. Is that so? I mean, can you give us some examples?
So, everybody has a certain face-related issue. Pooja may have had an issue with bags and creases. I have that, bag issue as well. It's hereditary. Laugh lines, crow's feet, double neck, creases on the neck, furrows, as she was talking about. The cheeks sagging, dropping, jowls, this part of the jaw turning a little crinkly and kind of sagging in older individuals. And with face yoga, you have a single exercise which you can take on. Of course, you can work the whole face altogether as well, and it's great. It's great for circulation, it's great for a variety of things. But when you take on that single exercise for your specific requirement, you'd be amazed at how fast it works.
But I want to know, is this reversal or is this preventative?
No, it's largely reversal as well.
That's good to know.
Like the gua sha is also amazing. If you put these certain serums and oils on your face and you use this gua sha, which then deals a lot with your lymphatic drainage as well, it's amazing what starts happening to your skin. And it's natural. You get amethyst ones, you get jade ones, you get copper ones, and you basically, each one has a different reaction on your skin. And it's all about the process of, draining out the fluids and what's causing a puffiness and making your face more sculpted, which you can do just naturally, beautifully, sitting with the stone at your home.
Before we come to Malavika on your wellness mantra, I want to ask Nawaz and Jaishree both one question which I'm extremely curious about. How much of it is nature and how much of it is nurture? A lot of people say, oh, you're genetically blessed with good skin. Oh, people from the Northeast, they don't have to do anything. They just sleep well.
Or metabolism also.
Metabolism.
I think we all have plus minus. I may have better skin, but I may have a problem with
more and how you treat your skin or how it is?
Scientifically, it's always 23% to 25% genetic.
Genetic, okay. 23%, I got my figure.
You got your figure. Are you very careful of your diet, all of you?
I certainly am. I certainly am. I
Oh,
got
and
my
then there is
first.
diet also in the mix. Yeah. So sleep,
That
diet,
comes under nurture.
Under nurture.
I
Yeah.
think women really get their first hit when they have their first child. That's when they really, there's a major wake-up call that things are not going to be the same unless I make some positive changes. I had that with my first child. I had it worse off with my second child, and there's a lot of motivation then, which is a good thing because by then you also have the willpower. When you're younger, you don't.
So if you had to advise women to cut out one thing as they age to age well, what would it be?
Cut out the whites.
I would say
The white sugar,
Sugar,
the white
yeah.
rice,
Bread.
the white bread, the white flour, the white potato, the white pasta. Cut out the whites and get healthier replacements in. And the book talks about a lot of those as well.
Well, there's nothing wrong with rice per se.
because
there's nothing wrong with white
versus
rice.
brown.
No,
There's been a
there's no
debate.
difference.
Yeah,
there's no
exactly.
difference between white and brown rice if you actually research it. There's
So then
not,
cut out the rice?
no, rice
do
is
you cut out
wonderful.
healthier
I'd
grains?
say just stay away from gluten because of the fact that it's got a lot of GMO in it. Today the gluten is GMO filled. That impacts your body negatively. Back then when we were growing up, atta was amazing. The gehu ka atta that we grew up with was fabulous. None of us had these allergies and these bloatings that people are
it was high
experiencing today.
fiber.
Right? And today all the wheat that's coming is largely GMO filled. So that's causing a lot of issues with us in terms of our physical issues. So I would say cut out the gluten, definitely cut out sugar. You can certainly have jaggery and honey and things like that, but white sugar is one of the most addictive substances on the planet, even more than cocaine according to studies. So you need to watch out for things that you get addicted to, either for energy levels or for that, boost in the brain function or whatever, or just simply your taste buds are going berserk. But if you stay away from gluten, stay away from sugar, I think you're good.
My husband's a GI surgeon. I'm a dermatologist. So when you talk of, you look at research, you look at the actual studies, jaggery and honey will also cause an equal amount of damage. They will also raise your IGF-1 levels and cause glycation and cause a similar process of damage. They are not exact substitutes.
But they have good
for,
nutritional value compared to sugar, which has
You
no
know,
nutritional value.
No, they all-
So
they're
jaggery
they're
has
just the
iron.
same.
Jaggery is really good for women. Jaggery is really good for your hormonal cycles. It's
No,
actually
it
really
isn't,
good
it
for you.
isn't, it isn't. When you look at scientifically, it isn't, It does
Good is very
bring
high in
down the
iron.
hormones, but
And the whites also age you, so rice also ages you. So if you want to slow that down, switch over to healthier options. For example, quinoa is a great option. All 20 amino acids of proteins.
Millets
Millets are
becoming
supposed to be
very
excellent.
You know,
big
now.
if you see the Bengalis, who are great rice eaters, and the South Indians,
They have the best skin.
They have the best skin, and they are the biggest rice eaters. So that should say a lot. A whole culture. Exactly. And look at their skin. Yeah,
I'm a South
Yeah,
Indian, I'm still
absolutely.
rice, but
Alcohol, cigarettes, you've said in your book, very bad for the skin.
So Malavika, there is of course a health recipe which all of them are talking about. Now we know that okay, we do follow certain discipline in your diet, your exercise, your sleep. We hear it all the time and we follow. But then wellness is more than that, isn't it? It's like all of you also said, the mindset. Now how do we crack that? The wellness, the
by
actual,
going
the true
inwards,
achieving.
going inwards, by finding out, because you're at a certain stage in your life, you then say, aha, I've reached this stage. Now what do I do with my life? And now how do I celebrate and fulfill my potential? And going inwards is
the way to go for it.
Yes. So you discover your strengths, you discover your fallibilities, you embrace yourself. And by being a happier, more joyful, more compassionate person, that is the little ripple effect you can have in your family, in your society, in your workplace, in
So
the world.
feel good to look good, like you were saying, they're connected, right?
But then your idea of what looking good should not be something that has come through peer pressure or through the malaise of society of that time, like is it misogynistic, is it ageist? Your idea of beauty should come from knowing your inner beauty and seeing it in your everyday life of people around you, and not reinforcing the age-old horrible stereotypes which are sending our children to heights of ridiculousness and suicide and depression and anxiety. So in groups like this, where there are strong women who have achieved a lot, we should be really giving them messages of empowerment and of liberation and freedom.
It's the responsibility of all of us to set the right beauty standards.
Absolutely.
As they say, beauty is not skin deep. So I guess that's the biggest.
But there's one thing that you've spoken of, and where you've said, you've just put a thing on it, that if you're beautiful on the inside and happy on the inside, it will always show on the outside.
Then I do
And
have
also,
one
if you're
more
happy
question.
on the inside, nothing else matters anyway.
No, but I have one last question. I want to direct at Pooja. I have one last question before Afrida taking a rapid fire round. I've seen you put a lot of motivational quotes on your Instagram. Yeah. I saw recently you put something about it's not the outside that matters, it's only the inside. Same what we've been talking about through this discussion.
Lots of stuff.
But that was a recent one. But then, Pooja, someone might turn around and say, well, easy for you to say you look glamorous, so you can get away with saying, all of you here look glamorous. You all
Why?
can get away with
Okay.
saying what matters is only on the inside. When all of you look good on the outside.
But we work towards looking good on the outside. It's not just something that happens, by the way, we're trudging through life and you just happen to look good. It's
Look
constant,
how hard
it's
she
constant effort, right? And there's
works
a
at,
yes, absolutely. It's like there's a saying, you can't stop the rain from falling, right? But you can either put up an umbrella or you can dance in the rain, right? The choice is yours. The same way, when you look at social media, it's like a rain of information coming at you, right? It's a rain. It's torrential, right? What's coming to all of us at every age and stage, right? You can choose to say, I'll put up an umbrella and shield myself from all of this, or I'm going to just dance in the rain, and basically it is the mindset that either says protect or embrace. right? Both of them are positive because both of them work for the self, right? So it's extremely important for me when it's either through my Instagram quotes or whether it's through the workshops I do, to sit and think, how can I shape minds to embrace change, which is taking place and will continue to take place at a very rapid pace, may I say, given AI and given social media and given what's coming up next. How do you prepare them mentally? How do you prepare this young generation, the middle generation and the older generation who's completely clueless about what's happening around them in society? How do you actually prepare each and every one of these levels of people at every age and stage for what they're dealing with, the onslaught of what is coming their way, right? That is my main objective through everything that I do in holistic wellness.
From what Nawaz said, I have a quote, and I think this is similar to what you said. And since Anushka is quoting now, I've also decided to quote George Clooney. And he said, I'm a big believer in the idea that you can't try to look younger. You just have to try to look the best you can at the age you are and not worry about it. I mean, said simply and beautifully, right?
You're not in competition with anyone else except for the you of yesterday, right?
Yeah. So, shall we start the rapid fire? And you don't have to give short answer. You can give me a longish answer. You can explain.
Hallelujah. No pressure.
No rapid fire in that sense. So, it's just something I just thought of. And Malavika, elegance or fashionable? Elegant or fashionable?
Elegant.
Why?
Always.
Why?
Because its elegance symbolizes something that is not dictated by changing. Fashion is, by its intrinsic nature, very changing.
You don't follow fashion at all?
No.
You have your own style statement and your own distinctive style. We can see that.
Yeah, we can, clearly. You don't
The
follow
sense
the
of,
mob.
you're saying the sense of individual style
Yes.
is what matters, that
Yes.
brings the
Yes.
elegance. So fashion
Yes.
is not something
No,
that you...
I don't follow fashion because I know that it's a conspiracy. I know the background of it, how every year the big lobbies of fashion houses get together and immediately change the rules so that the little shop girl somewhere has to now junk her skinny jeans and go back to broad jeans.
It's a conspiracy
It's a conspiracy
to sell stuff.
for lobbying.
Yeah. This is a Pooja Bedi question all the way.
Dress up or dress down?
Sensuous or sexy?
Why does there have to be a choice? Why can't I have both? You know?
Because I feel personally, older women, like you mentioned Tabu, again a big fan, I find her so sensuous. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know the subtle difference, but I think sexy is more associated with your physical voluptuousness or whatever. But sensuous is evergreen. Like
But
it's
you can
something
have a sexy mind.
you can have a sexy mind.
Yeah, and you can be both. You can be sensual, which is all about your senses at play, the way you look at someone, the little touch of a finger, a certain kind of perfume that's, you know, a patchouli or something that's going on, or just a certain vibe that you come in with. Sexy is hot. It's like when you
Because
go out
I
there and you
remember
dress
you-
a certain
you
way,
were
look a
termed-
certain way. I've been
Yeah.
called sexy my
All
whole
the
life. I've
time,
been
yeah,
voted
exactly,
sex
which
symbol
is
of the
why-
country. And I've loved it.
You loved it,
I've
yeah.
loved it. When people call
You
me
owned
sensual,
it.
I love it too. You know, when I dance as
Yeah.
a sensuality, people love that. So for me, there doesn't have to be a choice. I'm very happy to be sensual and I'm super happy to be sexy as well.
Question for you.
As long as it lasts.
Yeah. Jaishree, glamour or grace?
Sorry?
Glamour or grace?
Grace. Most definitely grace.
Yeah?
Yeah, I would definitely
So
say.
how do you define, how do you
know.
distinguish what's glamorous and what's graceful, and
I
how can
think-
you have the best of both?
I think if you are graceful, glamour comes, you know, automatically with it, right? The way you present yourself, you look glamorous. Just like she said, elegance, you can create a fashion statement with elegance. So I would definitely say grace.
Grace over glamour. To you, Nawaz, style or substance? And again, give
Substance.
us an elaborate answer.
Substance,
How do you mix
absolutely.
both?
Style kind of falls into substance in any event. And again, the attitude is, why will I not have it all? I'm a Scorpion, it's deep. It will be substance.
Yeah. So it's not as if you are stylish, you know, you are looked at as shallow, and if you follow those fashion
I agree
trends,
with what
you
Malavika
can
said
have substance.
entirely. It's not about style, it's not about fashion. I know what looks good on me and what doesn't, and I have the self-confidence to always know that and always carry that. If I have broad hips, you can go on and on about skinny jeans. I'm not going to be that idiotic. I'm not going to have such low self-esteem that I'm going to go running into, you know, purchase the same. So one knows oneself best and what works, what doesn't work, and With a little bit of help from the books, from people around, etc. My size hasn't changed since I was in my teens.
Wow.
I have
That's
clothes from
blessed.
then.
Wow.
People laugh at me, and I think it's just the most amazing thing. I feel so proud of it. Who else? My daughters dive into my closet and always steal my clothes. Most daughters won't do that. They won't want to touch their mother's anything. It's, oh my God, that's so dated, that's so, grandparentish. And my daughters will steal my clothes, they'll steal my shoes, they'll steal my jewelry, and they're so me, and I just absolutely love it.
I think also fashion is a very outward concept. Style is very intrinsic. You know, it's your personal sense of style. Style is something that you carry. You know, fashion is something that you buy.
Adopt or you can acquire.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you can't buy it off a shelf. Like
You can't buy style. You can't buy style.
You can't buy
You can
style.
get styled, but you can't buy style.
And when you
And
get
also,
styled,
I
it's
must say,
probably
the distinctive style thing we see right here, like each one with their own distinctive sense of style, not trying to follow anybody, ape somebody or be someone else. Like that's the most
And when
beautiful
you
thing.
get styled, I think it's because you intrinsically don't have the style yourself to put it together. Why would I
Okay.
get styled otherwise?
Because it's a look you're being created for a certain
For a
reason.
certain shoot or
Yeah,
a certain
yeah,
event is a
yeah.
different thing. I'm talking about life in general.
You don't have a rapid fire for me? I'm joking. I'm kidding. I'm joking. I'm joking.
Black or white?
Sensuous or sexy?
Maybe sexy. I don't know. I think. Anyway, I was joking.
You know,
okay, what
yeah.
about you? Would you choose? God, I can't think.
Hot or happening?
Hot or happening?
Sorry. They're the same.
Okay,
You're very good with
hot
that.
or beautiful?
I actually don't know what is hot. I mean, people say you're hot and you're cool. So I don't know what is exactly that hot, cold element. I'll go with beautiful.
All right.
Would you call the Kama Sutra campaign sensual or would you call it sexy?
Sensuous.
Sensual.
When I,
And yet everyone said I looked so sexy in that campaign, but the campaign was very sensual.
Very sensual.
Yeah.
my only worry is, Anushka,
But,
that I
but
never
that
want to...
is grace.
That is grace.
That is
yeah.
grace.
My only worry with style is that I never want to cross that line of vulgarity. You know,
Yes.
that I always want to, I can wear skimpy, I can wear anything, but I have to stay within
Yes.
the lemons.
Still look
dignity, yeah.
elegant in a way. You can look sexy and elegant. Like so, there's no trade-off really.
Yeah.
So you won't look like a Rakhi Sawant, in other words. But
No, that's not a dish.
The great
She's doing
style.
the best she can.
Yeah.
You know, given her belief systems and her space, she's doing the best she can. And she's trying, and you have to give her credit for where she's come from, the kind of money she's made, the kind of mark she's made, the kind of audiences she's
we give her
entertained.
credit for all of that. We're just talking about grace. We're talking about class. We're
Or
talking about
for
other
the
things.
Urfi Javeds for that matter, you know, from where they come and what they've achieved, and you know, they've whatever
Great on all
means
of
they
that.
I
have.
think they're extraordinary women
Yeah.
for what
It takes
they've
a lot.
done
It
for
takes a lot
themselves.
to do that, to come from where they've come from and achieve what they have achieved. I think that's remarkable. That is strength. That is true strength. To give a damn what people think about you, that's truly not giving a damn.
That is wonderful, but those are things different from our conversation right now, our class. And, yeah.
So let's conclude
Style.
this, and thank you so much, all of you beautiful women, and we've learned so much from the insights that you gave us. I hope the audience has benefited as well.
Extraordinary women, extraordinary conversation. Thank
An
you.
extraordinary host. Thank you so much.
I have to say, and as I conclude, another 2 cents that I have here, that I've always told myself, listen, you can be fabulous at 40s, you can be feisty in your 50s, you can be sensuous in your 60s and flamboyant all the way. You can be in your right up to your 80s. You can be all
in
of
your
this.
90s.
90s, I'm not sure, Malavika.
I
You need
tell
to slow
you.
down
Indira
somewhere.
auntie, do you know Indira auntie?
Indira who?
Aswani.
She passed.
She just passed away, but
But
90.
a lot of my
What?
friends are in their 90s.
Oh my
Those
God.
minds. Oh,
I have thought up to 80s. I think I'm
I
good.
think, yeah.
And
I
beyond
think that's
that,
good
I
enough
want
for
to-
this discussion.
You know, there was this misogynistic, there was this thing, right, about women. Women in their 20s are like Africa, virtually unexplored.
Oh, yeah, I
Women
heard
in
that
their
one.
30s are like India, warm, luxuriant and mysterious.
Wow.
Women in their 40s are like America, technically perfect.
Okay.
Women in their 50s are like Europe, all over ruin. And women
All
in their
over?
60s
Okay.
are like Siberia. Everybody knows where it is, but nobody wants to go there. Okay?
That-
So that
that's
mindset needs to be broken.
broken. I think
That
that's a
needs to be
fabulous note
broken.
to
Good,
end.
good note to
Because,
end on.
because in your 50s, you actually really come into your own as a woman. Your pressures of being being the good bahu, of raising those children, of catering to the family, trying to maybe balance work and family and put all of that in play. All of that has come to a position, your children are grown up, like with me, they have their own lives, they have their own careers, you're free of those 1 million WhatsApp parent messaging groups. You have time to focus on yourself, you have got experience, you have wisdom, you have traveled, you have friendship circles that are large and extensive, you are well read at this point of time, hopefully everyone is putting into themselves along the way. You're actually at your best, your energy levels haven't really dropped or diminished, you are actually in one of the best spaces you could ever be in your 50s as a woman.
Thank you so much, and really benefited from this conversation. I'm sure the audience loved it too. Thanks, Anushka.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.